Things that I couldn't say in the main review of this 2016 XSR900. Because I wanted a very short and concise main review, these are just things that got chopped off in the edit or things that I simply forgot to mention. First things first is this bike from the factory was always supposed to be very customizable, and that's something I didn't mention. It's very, very easy to customize. Now the tank, unlike the FZ09, is actually three-piece. So on the FZ09, MT09, whatever, it's actually one big tank. This is actually three-piece of covers covering the tank underneath. So this isn't actually the tank is underneath. Now the main reason why they did this is because it makes it much easier to take these off, paint them or whatever. So this is a plasticky bit. These two are metal, I think aluminium. They look very nice from the inside. Very easy to customize. This is not stock, this is actually an accessory that I really, really like. You can take it off very easily and it's just like a normal seat. So yeah, very customizable. The other thing is mine doesn't have a windscreen, but you can. I mean, you can see some brackets and things like that. And the reason why I don't have a windscreen on is because it makes 70 feel like 100 and 90 feel like 150. So it makes me feel like I'm going fast without, you know, doing speeds that would make me lose my license for the next 5 reincarnations. The other thing a lot of people latched on is A mode. Now, you can ride with A mode in slow speed traffic. It's just annoying. I mean, whenever you get the ECU reflash, retune, whatever, they smooth out all the emissions crap, which is what's making A mode so terrible. So if you get the ECU retuned, all the snatchiness disappears and it makes A mode really, really, really nice. But mine isn't reflashed. I mean, don't get me wrong, past 50, 60 mile an hour, it becomes a hoot. Another thing that annoys me is that the hazards are not a button, but it's more of a slider, switch, or whatever you want to call it. To put the hazards on, okay, fine, I can just flick it like this. But to turn them off, it's very, very hard. And with gloves on, it's even harder. So he's just put a button here. Now, another thing I want to mention is the chain tension. Now, the manual wants you to set it at about 15 millimeters, which is absolutely insane. It is way too tight. This is probably one of the very few times where I actually recommend going against the manual. What you want is about 25 to 35. And that makes it very nice and tight without being too tight. Because too tight is just as bad as too loose. Don't take that out of context. One thing that you have to have is tank pads, okay? Now mine look like they've been put on by a gorilla, but really, they're really, really useful because it's a very smooth surface, and as I said in the main review, it's a bike that pulls. It pulls. If you're wearing jeans or something like that, it's very easy to slide off, so tank pads. Now, as I mentioned in the main review, this is a very, very reliable bike, okay? The very few issues I've had, let me preface it by saying it never let me down by the side of the road. Never. So the thing I had is the O2 sensor. The O2 sensor is this little thing. So it plugs into the exhaust and then it goes into the ECU or whatnot. Now again, emissions crap, making things crap. Wow, surprise, surprise. The reason why I sort of diagnosed it to being the O2 sensor is because it only did it in closed loop mode. If I gave it wide open throttle or whatever, it was fine, but it's only in constant throttle kind of things that it was very weak and hunty. So I figured that it can only be the O2 sensor, and when I took it out, it was manky. It was like all burnt out and stuff. Now, this could possibly be a problem I caused because, again, I haven't tuned the bike and I have an exhaust put on. So it's not even really 100% the bike's fault. The other thing that happened is the fuel sensor. Basically, there was a time, if I fill up all the way, this would start blinking and it would go blank and then blinky and then blank and then blinky, basically showing that there's an error that you need to diagnose. And luckily enough, it only did it for about two weeks or so, and then it fixed itself. So don't you just love it when things fix themselves? Do I count that as a problem? I guess, but I guess it was just like a floater clogged with something, I don't know, but it fixed itself and never done it again. If you're looking to buy one of these used, you'll probably see that some people put aftermarket cam chain tensioners because CP3 engines had, at least for the beginning, some issues with the cam chain tensioner. Some felt like they were just a bit too noisy, some they just failed. Mine's been okay. This doodad here is the cam chain tensioner. All it does is basically push the cam chain that goes all the way around, pushes it to take off the slack. So mine's been fine, but if you do find a used MT09 or XSR or Tracer or whatever, make sure if it has the manual cam chain tensioner, make sure you're keeping up to date with it because it's very manual.
Wow.
This one is automatic, it just works off of oil pressure. If you have a manual one, you need to tighten it, I guess, every once in a while. And yeah, just keep up to date with that. Now from the main review, I'm going to assume a lot of detailers had probably heart attacks seeing the state of some things like the exhaust and whatnot. Now I have to clarify that this has been used every single day, rain or shine. So of course it's not going to be in tip-top condition, and it's not the XSR's fault. The thing that isn't really my fault, and I was let down by Yamaha's build quality on it, is the mirror stems. Yeah, these are going proper rusty, which is, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, you would assume that Yamaha knows that this is going to be a very exposed bit of the bike, so, you know, make sure it doesn't rust, but it rusted, and it rusted quite bad. Thankfully, this is a very replaceable part, so it doesn't really matter. I can always change it if it bothers me enough, but, you know, it shouldn't rust. Other than that, you know, the exhaust, you know, you can always change that, I don't care. They always rust anyway if you use the bike. Some bolts are a bit furry, they're not really shiny anymore. That's half of the course. I mean, it doesn't bother me that much. This is not a, you know, show bike or anything. I use it. Bolts are replaceable, you know, you can find kits online, you know, put gold bolts if you want. Now, as I mentioned in the MT-07 video, I don't know what it is about Yamaha switchgear, but it's so tiny, especially the indicators, and that's very annoying because that's a part that you use all the time, and it's tiny. It just doesn't feel like a quality bit, I'd say. You know, a bit too tiny for my taste. And let's briefly talk about competition. So what have we got? We've got the Z900 RS. If you want to stay in this particular niche of neo retro whatnot, you've got the R9T and perhaps a Thruxton R. The Z900, it boils down to it being a 4-cylinder, and this is a 3-cylinder. And for anything that's, you know, not track, for me, 3-cylinder will win all the fucking time. It just feels more alive. The Z900 RS makes a bit more power than this, but again, it's because it's a 4-cylinder, so you can rev higher and so on. And in my eye, this looks much, much better than the Z900 and the Z900 RS. R9T, that's a whole different kettle of fish. I mean, that is a cafe racer, purebred cafe racer. It's made to go get coffee and come back. It doesn't have the dynamics of this. It doesn't have the sort of agility of it, so to speak. The R9T is just different character. It's nice. It looks very good. It's a very premium product, but it's just not this. I mean, they're playing different games. And Thruxton R is even more, you know, it's even more laid back, you know, look good. You don't need to go fast, look good kind of thing. So for me, this is for the like proper hooligan who wants to ride and not just look good. I mean, you'd look good on this, but you know, look good, but ride hard as well. And the bike rewards you for that. And I like that. If I haven't answered something, put it down in the comments. If you do like the video, let me know. If you don't, definitely let me know. I promise the next review won't be in 2023 like some of you are saying. Cheeky fuckers. It's coming actually sooner than you think, so stay tuned and I'll see you next time.